Hello and thank you for joining us for this training session on child safety for volunteers at Nillumbik. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located, and we pay our respects to elders, children and young people of past, present and future generations, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. The purpose of today's presentation is to support you to help keep children and young people safe. We will be covering an overview of the child safe standards and policies. We will be looking at signs of child abuse and how to report your concerns. We'll look at volunteer responsibilities for child safety. And finally, we will look at ways that Council can support you and ways that you can seek support in your role as a volunteer. We understand the topic of child safety can bring up different feelings for everyone and can be distressing for some. There is a list of support and resources at the end of this presentation. Please skip to the end of the video at any time if you need to refer to this information. You can always pause this video or step away from the presentation if you need to. As a volunteer with Council, you may not feel that perhaps your role has a direct responsibility for children's safety. However, it is important that we recognise our individual and collective responsibility to keep children safe and to protect their well-being in everything we do. Every child and young person has the right to be and to feel safe. At Council, our aim is to ensure everyone who works or partners with us understands their responsibilities. There have been some big improvements in the way that we approach child safety in the last decade. Victoria's Betrayal of Trust inquiry found that organisations were failing to keep children safe. This led to the introduction of the Child Safe Standards, which require organisations to implement processes, policies and procedures to keep children safe, and a requirement to report instances of child abuse. We are legally required to meet the Child Safe Standards, which we will now cover briefly. There are 11 Child Safe Standards that outline the key steps needed to create a culture of safety for kids and young people. Each standard focuses on an important area that helps make an organisation child safe. Each of these standards has a list of basic requirements that organisations must meet to stay compliant. We won't go into detail on each of the standards in this session, beyond those relevant to volunteers. The standards are listed in Council's Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy, or you can refer to the Commission for Children and Young People. The website is on screen. We all can play a part in positively influencing others to help create culturally safe and inclusive environments where all children and young people feel welcome and safe. As representatives of Council in your role, we thank you for helping us to meet the standards by undertaking training when asked and being a positive influence in our community for the benefit of all children and young people. As volunteers, you make a valuable contribution to our community. When you volunteer with us, you may be in positions of trust with children. You have an important role in keeping children and young people safe. Council has developed policies and procedures to keep children safe and to make sure we respond to any concerns in a timely way. You will need to be familiar with and follow these important Council documents. The Volunteer Handbook and Code of Conduct. Ask your supervisor if you don't have a copy. Our Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy, our Child Safety and Reporting Guidelines, and we ask that you maintain a valid Working with Children check if your role description requires one. Today I'll highlight some of the main things you need to be aware of in these policies and procedures. To begin with, our Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy tells our community about our commitment to the principles and practices to keep children safe. It summarises the actions we will take across all the child safe standards to support a child safe culture. Our policy supports everyone engaged with council to know their responsibilities. So what does our Child Safety and Wellbeing Policy say about the responsibilities of staff and volunteers? It says you must participate in child safety and wellbeing, induction and training provided by council, such as this training. That if you have concerns about a child's safety, that you are required to report it to your supervisor or child safety officer. We'll discuss your responsibilities, including what to look for and how to raise concerns, as part of this presentation. The next 3 slides will be dealing with how to recognise signs of child abuse, including sexual abuse and grooming. In order to help stop child abuse, we need to be able to recognise the common signs of abuse listed here. Some instances will fall across multiple categories. For example, family violence may involve physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. Physical signs may be visible injuries, but they may also be consistent signs of poor care. Behavioural signs might include unusual changes to behaviour, withdrawal, self-harm, or harm to others or animals. Let's look now at identifying child sexual abuse, including grooming. Child sexual abuse is when a person uses power or authority over a child to involve them in sexual activity. Grooming is predatory behaviour to prepare a child under the age of 16 for sexual abuse at a later time. Perpetrators of child sexual abuse, including grooming, are usually known to the child and trusted by their families and communities. Any child can be a victim of sexual abuse, but some children are at a greater risk of abuse, including those who are vulnerable, isolated, or have a disability. This slide lists common behavioural signs that an adult in a child's family or community may be grooming them for sexual abuse. Perpetrators can be of any gender and may be a family member, school staff member, coach, or other trusted carer in a child's life. Grooming can be conducted in person or online, including through social media. Perpetrators try to build relationships with victims, including family members or other carers, to try and lower inhibitions and create situations where abuse could occur. Behaviours might include gift giving or preferential treatment, out-of-hours contact or home visits, or undermining the victim's reputation so they won't be believed. Staff and volunteers must report any complaints or concerns about grooming behaviour to the Child Safety Officer, regardless of concerns about the risk to the reputation of the suspected perpetrator or to council. Now let's talk about what to do if you do have concerns about a child's safety or wellbeing. Anyone can report child safety concerns using Council's Child Safe Incident Report. If the child is in immediate danger, call police on 000. If you can, record a reference number, the date, and who you spoke to. You should report any child safety concerns, disclosures, allegations, suspicions, or observations of harm or abuse within 24 hours. Reportable conduct relates to conduct by someone engaged by a council, and we will explain that in the coming slide. How can you report? Your supervisor or a child safety officer can help you to complete the Child Safe Incident Form, or you can complete it yourself. You can make the report online via Nillumbik's website by searching child safety. I'll show you that on the following slide. For any questions or assistance, email childsafeofficer@nillumbik.vic.gov.au. Anyone, including a child or young person, can report a child safety concern. Simply search for Report Child Safety on Nillumbik's website, nillumbik.vic.gov.au. Remember, you may be the best placed or only adult in a position at that time to identify and respond to suspected abuse. If a child or young person discloses something concerning to you, let them know that you have heard them and let them know that you will need to talk to your supervisor to help keep them safe. Reportable conduct refers to a particular type of serious conduct involving people engaged by counsel. Counsel is subject to the reportable conduct scheme and as a part of this scheme is required to respond to and investigate allegations of child abuse or child-related misconduct involving any counsel representative. And this includes employees, contractors, counsellors, or volunteers. Council CEO must report these allegations to the Commission for Children and Young People within 3 business days. In summary, child safety is a shared responsibility. We ask that you remember to follow Council's child safety and wellbeing policies and procedures, including the Volunteer Handbook and Code of Conduct. To take children's views seriously, especially when they raise concerns or worries about their safety or the safety of a friend. To recognise and respect the diversity of children, young people and families and take account of their individual needs. To immediately raise any concerns about child safety issues with your supervisor or the child safety officer. And to participate in ongoing child safety and wellbeing training. Thank you for your attention for this important training. I do understand that talking about these topics may be distressing for some people. I encourage you to reach out to the support listed here if you need it. You can pause the video and note down the contact details. In particular, please be aware that you do have access to free counselling via Karanish at Work by calling 9433 3333 and let them know that you are a Nillumbik volunteer. Once again, thank you so much for your attention today. If you do have any questions, please reach out to your volunteer supervisor or you can email childsafeofficer@nillumbik.vic.gov.au.